So guys, a northern cleric was spotted in a video warning the northern leaders that nobody will come and tell them not to vote for Peter Obi. See what he said, because it was actually spoken in Hausa, but here is part of the translation. It says, nobody will tell us not to vote for Peter Obi. That decision is ours to make. The leaders you've been telling us to support and vote for have brought nothing but suffering, from subsidy removal to new tax laws. Prominent Muslim northern leaders say. So guys, the North is now coming to the realization that they were duped in the last election, and he's telling his audience, see, nobody will come and tell us don't vote Peter Obi because of tribe. After all, that all the leaders that the northern leaders have been making them to vote for have not brought any good thing their way. He said, from subsidy removal to new tax law, Nigerians are already crying over the new tax law. So guys, let's move over to some of the security headlines. Like you can see, yesterday we woke up to the news that this guy who is a Nigerian soldier was one of those who were killed in the explosive that Boko Haram planted somewhere. And he is just 8 months in marriage. You know, Nigerians have wondered who sabotaged the location of the Nigerian military that made them to suffer such a heavy blow that led to the death of 9 military soldiers, and several of them were wounded. Away from that, this morning we heard that this medical doctor that was kidnapped somewhere in Edo State has also been killed in the hands of his captors. This person said kidnappers killed abducted doctor in Auchi. A doctor's light has been extinguished in captivity. Nigeria has stolen yet another dream, leaving only heartbreak. Dr. Emoye is gone. Till when, Nigerians? Till when? And this is how Sahara reporters captured it, saying gunmen kill one of 2 medical doctors abducted on New Year Day in Edo State. So guys, these 2 people were abducted, and if you go back to their picture, you can see that their abductors were asking for 200 million naira when they discovered that they were medical doctors. They were seeking for 200 million naira. I don't know if that money was raised, but as it stands now, their lives have been taken away from them because they are Nigerians. Like you can see here, it says enough is enough. The kidnappers of Momo and his brother are demanding 200 million naira for their safe release. It's heartbreaking that they are putting a price on their lives. Our lives are not for sale. Government must act now. This was what Nigerians put forward before now, only for us to wake up to the news that they've been killed in captivity. I mean, one of them have been killed in captivity. So guys, that tells you what people are going through as regards to insecurity. You can see here, bandits kidnap police inspector, 2 others in Kanu, beat them on camera as they beg for help. This video trended some few days ago. These are policemen. One of them is a police inspector, and another 2 that were kidnapped and beat them, and then posted the video of the maltreatment for the whole world to see. So guys, this is the level of humiliation that we are seeing. Now, the Israeli government has offered Nigeria the assistance of intelligence. Like it says here, alleged Christian genocide, Israel will involve in intelligence sharing in Nigeria, says convoy. The problem is the sabotage we have been talking about. When information is handed over to our government, are they going to protect that information, or will it be shared among these bad guys? You know, the prime minister the prime minister of Israel was seen recently when he said he's going to be involved in the fight to end Christian genocide, and you can see now it is now coming to fulfillment that he wants to be part and parcel of that. Now guys, this is another troubling and worrisome headline. It says Nigerian troops rescue abducted colonel in Plateau as bandits demand 200 million naira. This is a military colonel that was abducted some time ago. He has been in captivity. Finally, he was rescued. Guess how much they are demanding? They were demanding for 200 million. So guys, these terrorists are making a hell of money off Nigerians. They are really making, this is really a lucrative business for them, and that is why it is not stopping anytime soon. Now, the IG of police has ordered police commissioners to redeploy withdrawn VIP escorts. So all those VIP escorts that have been withdrawn, they are now being redeployed. They are being sent back to go and protect the rich men and the big boys in the town, while Nigerians in Plateau State, Benue State, Adamawa, Kebbi states are all under severe attack by these Boko Haram and terrorist groups that are operating all over the places in the north. Now this one says military claims troops dismantled suicide bombing network in Adamawa, arrested 8 suspects. This is a welcome development because Nigerian military suffered explosive, device that was denoted somewhere that caught up with the Nigerian military just a few days ago and killed about 9 of them. Now the military has dismantled some of the suicide bombing network in Adamawa State. So guys, a whole lot of bad stories coming out from Nigeria. It is really, really so sad. And this one here says Amnesty International condemns mob killing of pastor in southern Kaduna, demands probe. In Nigeria, you are on your own in terms of security. Nobody is coming to help you. Nobody is coming to your rescue. And this one says terrorists attack Katsina community in midnight assault, abduct several residents. These communities in Katsina are mostly Christian-dominated environments. You know, they've been coming under severe attacks, even despite the peace deals, you know. Still, it has not helped. These people will still come back and buy them, abduct some of them. You can imagine the hell people are going through. So, guys, finally, the United States has reacted to the statement that was made by ISWAP, or the Boko Haram recently in Adamawa, where they declared convert or you die. See how Raimo tweeted. He said ISIS recently issued a statement saying Christians of Nigeria must either convert or die. We will never back down from supporting our brothers and sisters in Christ. And I'm glad to see the Nigerian government is working in coordination and cooperation with parties to defeat this radical Islamic terrorist. So he had an interview and he commented on, you know, terrorists demanding that people convert to Islam or die, you know, and he said that America is not going to sit down quietly and watch all that happened. And Nigerians are also happy to see the Israeli government coming to our aid, saying they are going to provide us with intelligence. The question remains, are we going to really act on the intelligence, or are we going to sell the intelligence to our enemies? Because Nigerian military has been accused of all kinds of sabotage, you know, in the military and all kinds of places, other government security related bodies, you know. These are some, if we don't root out the bad eggs, you know, even if America wants to help Nigeria, it will not work. Even if Israel wants to help, it will not work until the bad eggs in the military. I think that is what Christopher Musa should be focusing on, getting rid of the bad eggs in the military. I mean, you know, so that when we have intelligence, it becomes intelligence. Now you can see that recently the Nigerian military suffered heavy blow because their vehicle went to the direction of where Boko Haram planted explosives. Who told Boko Haram that the Nigerian military was coming that direction? How come they planted the explosive and it caught the Nigerian military red-handed? As in, it caught them right there, and we lost about 9 soldiers immediately while several were injured. The question remains, who is selling the intelligence to these terror guys? If we don't fix these problems, we'll continue to have challenges in ending insecurity. Anyway, guys, let me just allow you to take a look at this video and let me know your honest reaction in the comment section below. And let me know what you think about this cleric who is saying that nobody will tell them, nobody will come and tell us not to vote for Peter Obi, that they've been forced to vote for people that at the end they don't get anything. Instead, they got subsidy removal, got new tax laws that is biting on Nigerians. And he's saying that this time around, nobody will force them not to vote for Peter Obi. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell notification. Now take a look.
Now to issues surrounding insecurity. No fewer than 9 soldiers were killed yesterday and several others injured when their convoy hit a landmine and came under fire from terrorists in Borno State. The attack took place on Sunday near Bindundul village, some 12 miles from Karito, an area where Daesh-affiliated Islamic State West Africa province ISWAP fighters were said to operate freely and often set up checkpoints. According to 2 security sources from the Damasak Brigade, the terrorists planted a mine that our soldiers stepped on. Unfortunately, about 9 soldiers died instantly, while 5 others were seriously injured. That's a direct quote. A member of the civilian joint task force involved in the rescue operation, Abakakatuja, added that an armored vehicle was destroyed when the mine detonated, followed by sporadic gunfire from militants.
Let's start with Nigeria and that announcement by Prime Minister Netanyahu of a new Israeli front to protect Christian communities in this country and other parts of Africa. How has it come to this?
Well, I think that what Prime Minister Netanyahu said, and he was very clear, was that he wants to make sure that all those persecuted around the world, and he highlighted Christians around the world, not only in Nigeria, that it was important to do what Israel can in order to work with our partners, to work with Nigeria, and that's very important. This is about working with Nigeria. This is not about working against Nigeria. It's working with them as a partner, as an ally, and seeing what we can do. And he emphasized the issue of intelligence sharing and working in that area. And certainly I think that's the area that we will be looking at, to work with the Nigerian government to see where we can work together to stop the attacks that are taking place against Christians, but also against Muslims and against all Nigerians. Our interest is to work with Nigeria to stop all the violence in this country.
I was going to ask you what specific actions Prime Minister Netanyahu proposes to take to protect Christians in Nigeria, but you've kind of answered that. But no unilateral action.
No, absolutely. Our aim is to work with the Nigerian government, and the Prime Minister highlighted issues of intelligence sharing and other areas, and I think that we will be led and guided by the Nigerian government as to where we can work and where we can partner, because this is very much about working with an ally, working with a partner, and doing things to tackle insecurity as a whole within the country.
And I mean, obviously Israel is a staunch ally of the United States. I mean, if Mr. Trump was to decide to take some further action in Nigeria unilaterally, what would Israel's response be? I mean, I know it's a hypothetical situation.
Well, one, it's a hypothetical situation, and two, I think there's probably a better question to ask the American ambassador rather than the Israeli ambassador as to what the
well, the question is, what would Israel's response be?
Well, in a hypothetical, we'd have to see what the situation was. I couldn't tell you what our response is. What I can tell you is that we want to work with the Nigerian government to see what we can do to help and work with them to tackle insecurity across the country.
And how has the Nigerian government responded to Mr. Netanyahu's statement? I'm wondering if there's been any sort of behind-the-scenes diplomatic communication about this between you and the Tinubu administration?
Well, any communication behind the scenes will obviously remain behind the scenes. But as I said, Prime Minister Netanyahu has made our position clear, and so anything that we can do in those areas, and obviously when you're dealing with issues of intelligence and when you're issuing of information, it's not something that we're going to talk about publicly, because that would undermine the entire purpose of having a conversation about intelligence sharing.
But why would Mr. Netanyahu be talking about protecting Christians in Nigeria when peace remains elusive in his own backyard in Gaza? I mean, doesn't his statement seem contradictory given the ongoing Gaza conflict?
I don't think they're contradictory at all. What Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke about was Christians across the world. It wasn't only he spoke about Christians in Nigeria, he spoke about Christians across the world. And he highlighted the fact that Israel is the only country in the Middle East where the Christian population is growing. It's the only country in the Middle East where the Christian population is thriving. It's the only country in the Middle East where Christians have complete freedom of worship and freedom to do what they want. And I think that that was the point that the Prime Minister Netanyahu was making. And that's the critical point here, is that opportunity for Christians. You know, if you look at Israeli society, Christians are the most well-educated in Israel, they are the wealthiest, there are many, many things, but fundamentally, Christians have total freedom of religion. They can pray where they want. You know, we've just had New Year and Christmas, and you saw thousands of Christians in Jerusalem, walking through the Via della Rosa, going to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. I was actually in Jerusalem on Christmas Eve and on Christmas Day, and we saw Christmas trees and Christmas lights and Christians having a wonderful, wonderful time in Jerusalem, totally free to express their religion, to express their identity, and it was amazing to see. It was amazing as an observant Jew to be able to see this in my home city of Jerusalem.
So would it be fair to say that this announcement by Mr. Netanyahu talking about protecting Christians, not just in Nigeria but around the world, is part of a broader strategy? He talked about an eighth front in the battle against radical Islamists.
Yes, I think that that's true. If we look at what Israel's faced over the last number of years, we've faced 7 fronts of different radical Islamists attacking us, from Hamas to Hezbollah, to the Houthis, to the various militias and terror groups in Iraq and in Syria. And we've seen also Iran attacking us directly. And so this is the challenge that's facing the whole world. And by the way, I think that radical Islamism is also a challenge to the Muslim population. And I don't think that we should highlight and focus purely on Christians. I don't need to explain to you that in Nigeria, it's Muslims being killed, it's Christians being killed, it's been atheists being killed. It doesn't matter who you are. It's that insecurity that I think that Prime Minister Netanyahu is highlighting and offering to work with the Nigerian authorities to help tackle, because this is affecting Christians, it's affecting Muslims, and it's affecting people of no religion.
But is it also about strategic diplomacy, an attempt to sort of strengthen ties with Christian communities and nations to counterbalance Muslim majority countries and Iran's influence, for instance, in addition to positioning Israel as a protector of Christians to bolster its image in the Christian world? Because, of course, that sort of action appeals to evangelical Christian supporters in the US and around the world, doesn't it?
Well, Israel protects Christian because it's what we believe in. Israel is a country that is founded on the principle of guarantee of equality of religion, the guarantee of freedom of religion. We see that the Muslims have freedom of religion, Christians have freedom of religion. The only time in Jerusalem's history when all the religions have had total freedom of religion is when Israel has been in control. And so it's not about doing something for political purposes or diplomatic purposes. This is a fundamental ideological belief that Israel holds, that we need to provide freedom of religion and protect all minorities. Doesn't matter if they are Christian, if they are Muslim, if they are Jew. The fundamental principle for us is to protect the freedom of religion and protect all of those people. So that's where this is coming from. That's where this is born from. And I would emphasize that Israel has got very strong relations with many Muslim countries around the world. We've seen that now we're celebrating 5 years of the Abraham Accords, where we signed agreements with the United Arab Emirates, with Bahrain, with Morocco. Only today we announced a deepening of strategic ties with Morocco in the defense field and in other areas. So we've got very strong relations with Muslim majority countries, with Muslim countries and with Christian countries, because I think those countries recognize that we work to protect freedom of religion regardless of what the religion is.
But yet peace remains elusive in Gaza. In fact, Israel bombed Gaza today. A number of Palestinians killed, in spite of the fact that there is a pause in hostilities, or there's supposed to be there. Let's then turn to Gaza. We talked about the territory quite a bit in 2025, an attempt to end the conflict there. What's your expectation in 2026?
Well, firstly, we've seen, and I've been here many times and we've spoken about the hostages on a number of occasions. There's still one Israeli hostage being held by Hamas, Ran Gvili. It is a body. He was murdered on the 7th of October, and Hamas are still holding his body. And we expect that as part of the agreement that they should return him immediately. Without him being returned, we can't really move on.
But surely, I'm sorry to interrupt you, you must know, I mean, you caused the destruction in Gaza. You must know that, look at all the rubble. I mean, we're watching scenes from Gaza on television. It can't be easy for the Hamas or whoever it is to find bodies in that rubble. Well, you won't allow heavy equipment into Gaza. No, how are they going to be able to dig all that up?
There's plenty of heavy equipment in Gaza. We've allowed heavy equipment into Gaza. And as you all know, they managed to return all of the other bodies that they knew exactly where they were. They played a game of, oh, we don't know where they are, they don't know where they are. And then when we said, well, if you don't know where they are, then maybe the ceasefire isn't working. And when President Trump made it clear that they needed to return the bodies, suddenly they found all the bodies. So we believe that they know where Ran Gvili is being held, and we believe that they need to return him immediately. And then the next stage of that is the disarmament of Hamas, because without the disarmament of Hamas, we can't be moving on. And that's the next part of the plan. The next part of the plan laid out by President Trump is the full and total disarmament of Hamas.
And that is absolutely crucial for Israel, isn't it?
Well, it's crucial, I think, for peace. It's not about whether it's crucial for Israel. This is crucial for peace. Hamas is a terror organization that not only carried out 7th of October, where they massacred thousands of Israelis and kidnapped Israelis. They've said over and over again that were up to them, they would carry out October the 7th over and over again. And the only way we stop that is to make sure that Hamas are disarmed. And Hamas are also terrorizing the Gazan population. We've seen that since the war has ended, that the ceasefire has come in, that we've seen that Hamas have turned their guns on the civilian population of Gaza. We've seen many civilians and many Gazans being killed and injured and maimed by these Hamas terrorists. And I think President Trump put it very, very succinctly. Either Hamas can do this the easy way, or they'll do it the hard way. But Hamas needs to be disarmed for any better future for the Palestinians in Gaza.
Well, Hamas, though, has made it clear that it will not unilaterally disarm, that it'll have to be part of a political process. And for Hamas, the Palestinians, the Arab states, and indeed for many Western countries, particularly some in Europe, it has to be a pathway to a Palestinian state. How do you see that panning out in 2026?
Well, Hamas are not interested in a Palestinian state. Hamas are interested in destroying the
but
Jewish
Israel
state.
isn't interested either.
Now, Hamas are interested in destroying the state of Israel. That's what their charter is, that's what their goal is, that's what their aim is. And if anybody wants to see any peace in the future between Israelis and Palestinians, there is no place, no possibility for Hamas to remain in that. And therefore, if people are genuinely interested in seeing a peaceful resolution between Israel and the Palestinians, Hamas can't be part of that. Hamas can't be there. And therefore, they need to be disarmed, they need to be removed, and there needs to be an alternative governing structure in Gaza. And the Arab states support this. The Arab states also understand that Hamas can't be a part of any future, can't be any positive dynamic for the Palestinians. And so we need to work to disarm Hamas and to create a better, brighter future for the Palestinians.
Well, that's one sticking point. Of course, there is still the discussion around a stabilization force, discussions which discussing which countries will be involved. There's talk about Azerbaijan, Indonesia, and I understand Turkey wants to be a part of it, but the Israelis don't want Turkey. I mean, is that a fact?
Well, we've seen that the Turkish leadership, Erdogan and others, have made outrageous statements about Israel, delegitimizing Israel as a country. They host Hamas leadership in Istanbul and in parts of Turkey. We've seen a number of terror attacks that have taken place inside Israel by Hamas originating from cells within Turkey. So putting Turkey in there at this stage is a bit like putting the fox in charge of the chicken coop. It's not a confidence builder. It's not a confidence builder, and it's not something that we think will lead to a positive dynamic and a better future for Israelis or Palestinians.
Well, let's say that Turkey is removed from that equation, and there is some stabilization force that goes in. Will the Israelis allow it to be powerful enough and enabled enough to push Israel out of the rest of the Gaza Strip? It still controls, which is around, I think, 53%?
Well, there's a very clear pathway which has been laid out by President Trump's plan, which Israel has accepted. And as we go through the stages, those stages involve Israeli withdrawal from the Gaza Strip. And our intention and our commitment made by Prime Minister Netanyahu and by the Israeli government is to follow that plan all the way through. And to follow it all the way through means obviously withdrawing on the basis that the other steps before that have also been followed, including the full disarmament of Hamas, a different force in there, guarantees for Israel's security, and all of those things need to be in place. But Israel, we have no territorial desire over the Gaza Strip. We left in 2005.
Well, you have territorial desires over the West Bank. I mean, you're expanding your...
Well, we have no... the conversation at the moment is obviously we're talking about Gaza.
No, but I'm just saying, because you do have territorial ambitions on the Palestinian territory.
Well, your question was about Gaza and about whether or not Israel is going to withdraw. We have no desire to be there. We withdrew fully once in 2005, and we certainly intend to leave there in the future. We don't want to be there. It's not a territory that we want to be. We have no desire to be there. And so as long as all of the stages are followed of President Trump's plan, then we will withdraw from the Gaza Strip as well.
Well, there's been talk of US boots on the ground in Gaza in 2026. Do you see that happening? The Americans going that far to assert their dominance in imposing that peace deal to full effect?
Well, I don't know who's going to have boots on the ground and who's not going to have boots on the ground. I know that we're committed to the Trump's peace plan, that we are committed to having a stabilization force. Who will be part of that stabilization force, who won't be part of that? Those are conversations that are ongoing and being discussed on a regular basis. And obviously to know exactly which countries will be a conversation to have with all of those countries.
So moving forward, there is still a great risk, isn't there, that it could all just fall apart in 2026. What do you foresee?
Well, I hope that it won't fall apart. I hope that this is a ceasefire. I hope that we will see the return of Rungvili's body. I hope that we will see the disarmament of Hamas. I hope that we will see a stabilization force there. I hope that we will see a new governing body that will bring a better future for the Palestinians. I hope that we will see the possibility of Israel withdrawing further, and that for all of the Israeli communities that are around Gaza, my father-in-law lives very close to the Gaza border, that he should have a more peaceful life, that he should be able to live like all of those people there, and that we also see a better future for the Palestinians. This needs to be a better future for everybody, because if it's not a better future for everybody, then there's no real hope of it lasting and being a better future.
Well, that's a good note to end on, and a hopeful one. So we thank you for coming in. Michael Freeman is the Israeli ambassador to Nigeria. Thank you very much indeed, and good to see you again.
Okay, at first I'd like to pay tribute to our dear troops that lost their life in active service. The death of every man diminishes all of us. But these are patriots. These are those that keep putting their life on the line to fight for all of us. They could have been with their families celebrating the festivities of the new year. But out there on a mission to keep Nigeria sovereign and safe, they pay the supreme price with their lives, and their sacrifices will never be forgotten. But I also quickly want to add another story that hurts my heart. And it's based on a reporting by Daily Trust about what happened in Niger yesterday. You've not heard the end of it. The president did say, let's go after those that perpetrated that heinous act, what happened in Niger. Stories are beginning to emerge that the death toll was not even 30, it was more than 30. Some are saying 45, some are saying 60. But the shocking thing for me that hurts me the most is the fact that the kids that were just rescued from Papiri in Niger State, some of them were reabducted in that kidnapping, because it was not only killings that happened, the terrorists also abducted people in Niger. So just imagine the trauma of a kid that had just faced the trauma of being in the bush, abducted. Now that kid been reabducted in the space of a month and a half. 2 times, insecurity struck. They went through the ordeal of negotiating their release. Now the newspaper Daily Trust claimed they've been reabducted. This is our country for you. This is the sad reality. I don't want to go the phrase, oh, Nigerian happened, but it happens. When we say Nigeria happens, because they are in Nigeria and there's a level of insecurity. When good things also happen, we can also say Nigeria happened. There are no biggies about that. But that's the sad reality of the insecurity we are fighting. And that's why it's not just President Tinubu saying, go fight them away in France, while he's in France. It's about him doing something about this insecurity. It's lasted for too long. As regards Wike, I see the reason for his reaction. Give it to President Tinubu. That man is a master strategist. Like I was saying the other day when Mr. Tonya Cole was here, I said the reason why when Minister Wike wanted to impeach Fubara, President Tinubu intervened and probably gave him a leeway was so that he will have options. And his options have come home. So now, Fubara has joined the APC. The APC top apparatchik have closed rank with him. You can see the chairman of the party saying the other day that he's our man. Then Bolaji Bashir is saying, Wiki, you're not even a member of the APC. And you see, that's why politicians should be careful. When Wiki was going at people in his own party, did he forget that at some point in the APC, they would tell him you're not a member of the APC? Because Fubara has joined the APC. And President Tinubu has played him out in the game. Guess what? Unknowingly, after he got the Supreme Court ruling that they did the local government elections again last year, he went to put most of the local government chairmen as APC members. He ensured they got in. The State House of Assembly defected to APC. The governor, APC. Wike, PDP. It's so easy to scheme him out. And that's why the likes of Jubala Bashir can challenge him and say, you are not in the party, you don't have a right to tell us what you do in the party. Yes, Wike can say, oh, you can't tell me that. Don't put your mouth in reverse politics. Say all sorts. But President Tinubu has strategically schemed it out. That's why they call him the Jagaban. I don't agree with President Tinubu on many things, but on this, he has shown he's the political Jagaban. He has schemed him out. So Wike can go ahead with his local government tour. But what Wike forgets is, yes, you will say the local government chairmen they are loyal to you, right? But they are in the APC. Most of them, I think save for 1 or 2 that PDP won. Majority of them are in the APC. So it's been schemed out. President Tinubu choose to work with Fubara, and that's why Bashir said that he could resign. So the question is, will Wike now want to fight back and go against the grain and fight the federal might? As in he wants to get a candidate to challenge Fubara. It might be a game up for him. This might be the beginning of the end of these fights. On this, like they say on the streets, President Tinubu 200, Wiki 0.
Okay, very quickly, let me start with the boards. Now, what the law, the enabling law, setting up either the UPRC or the NMD-PRA says is that there shall be a board. Now, it has taken President Bola Ahmed Tinubu almost how many years now since he assumed office in 2023 to now set up a board. Well, as they say, better late than never, because he has now finally, fulfilled that obligation, that legal obligation that there must be a board. Shortly after changing the leadership of both the NUPRC and the NMD-PRA. Now, two things. The NUPRC, it's a fairly straightforward assignment. What do? They oversee the upstream sector, oversee the exploration activities upstream, and then, of course, licensing rounds, bid rounds, and all of that. So the board has a responsibility to make sure that there is transparency in that regard and that are due processes followed and that whatever process that they have to deal with is not politicized, because these are regulators, as it were. So you have Magnus Abe, Senator Magnus Abe, as the chairman of that board of the NUPRC. Now, in a sense, you may say, in terms of extraction, it looks good for government to have chosen somebody from Ogoniland, or if you like, from Rivers State. And then, of course, he also has experience. He had been on the board of the NNPC previously. So it looks like, the issues are quite familiar to him. Now, as for the NMD-PRA, there's a lot of more work there, because the NMD-PRA that is responsible for the midstream and the downstream will be dealing with refining. We'll be dealing with storage. We'll be dealing with distribution. We'll be dealing with quality, ensuring that the quality of products is in order and reliable and for the benefit of Nigeria. So they have, even a lot more rigorous work to do. Now take the refineries. The only refinery that is working, that is so visible in Nigeria today, is the Dangote refinery. You recall that when the Dangote refinery had issues with the former head of that body, Farouk Ahmed, the issue was that even the NMD-PRA did not have its own laboratory. If it wants to test quality, if it wants to establish standards and set standards, it will, ordinarily outsource that to some other bodies. The first task of this new board that is led by Mr. Adeniji is simply to make sure that that body, that NMD-PRA, at least sets up a laboratory that can be, relied upon. And two, that the NMD-PRA does not get involved in this old practice of giving approvals for importation. The business should be how to grow activities in the midstream and the downstream. And then as for the refineries, there is an opinion abroad that these refineries that are comatose, that are just a waste on the resources of Nigeria, should be sold, even if it is a scrap or whatever, or something should be done about them. That will be within the purview also of the NMD-PRA board. And then, of course, to ensure accountability, to ensure transparency. Now, incidentally, the chairman of that board, Mr. Adeniji, he has been in oil and gas. I think he was involved in helping to fine-tune the petroleum oil sector reform, particularly in the area of gas. So he's familiar with the subject. It's not as if, he's a tyro being given, an assignment that he's not familiar with. So if you look at the other board members too, some of them have been in NNPC or they've served on the board before under President Buhari. So there is also a sense of continuity. And now President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has added also new hands. But the retest will be in what they are able to do and how productive and how effective they are as regulators, not people trying to serve political interests, but ensuring integrity, transparency, and accountability. So I think the appointment of the board members is welcome, and we hope that they will get expeditious approval from the Senate as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has requested. Now, quickly to Rivers State. Now, here's some wicked place politics for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. When he was speaking at Uyibu local government area yesterday, in the course of what he calls visit to Rivers State, he told the people, while concluding, that he was there to support, to campaign for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But while he's playing politics for President Tinubu, it is obvious that some members of the APC, the leadership of the APC, are not happy with his kind of politics. Now, the reasons are not far to seek. Perhaps his style, perhaps his almost deliberate alienation of many constituencies that could also have been very useful to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, in 1 week, in less than 1 week,
we had this headline of Boko Haram, buying some military men. They bought about 9 of them. And Shetima has been silent, only for him to come out and say, don't allow any pressure to divide Nigeria. Can you imagine? That tells you that these people are really enjoying a whole lot. These people are enjoying a whole lot from the United Nigeria. But they are importing insecurity. They are not talking about that. Nobody is raising alarm. Nobody is saying anything about the level of insecurity that is bedeviling this country called Nigeria. You see what people are going through every day on a daily basis. Nobody's life is secured, as in you don't know what is becoming of you the next moment. That's how bad it is in Nigeria. And Shetima is saying, don't allow them to divide Nigeria. Shetima is not talking on how to tell his people, let's see how we can make Nigeria a better place. No. He's not talking about that. Rather, he's just talking about how the insecurity... Just ignore the insecurity. Now, let me even shock you with some of the headlines on this social media space that has to do with the level of insecurity. 2 doctors were abducted, although one is a nutritionist and the other one is a medical doctor. 2 of them were abducted. They now killed the one that is not a doctor and left the one that is a doctor alive so that he will make the people, the family, to bring money at all costs. Can you imagine? That is what we are saying, He's now making people they held back the doctor and bite the non-doctor. Can you imagine the level of, I don't know, the level of heartlessness that people are seeing in Nigeria? Now, these 3 brothers that died in the new Nigerian house, their burial have been scheduled. There were 7 orphans in one family, 2 girls and 5 boys. One of them is a priest. Oh my God. Father William Omatu. 3 of the brothers were trapped in the great Nigerian house. And they died on Christmas Eve. They did not die because it was inevitable. They died because in Nigeria life has become cheap. Because these men, because those men to protect life and properties did not. Because no one came in time. Because, however, nobody cared enough. How does a family bury 3 promising sons on the same day? How do you even explain such? This is not just sad. It is devastating. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. It breaks the heart. What hurt did one? What hurt even more is knowing that their brother, a priest, is my friend here in Scotland. The remaining siblings will live the rest of their lives and ministry carrying this memory, the knowledge of how their brothers died and how helpless Nigeria was. May Nigeria never happen to us in Jesus' name. I pray that that the Lord grants the family the fortitude to carry this grief, this heavy grief. May their souls rest in peace. So guys, let me know what you think about all this happening in the country. It is a country where every day is a sad story, a very sad one. Every day is a sad story. Kwara Police Command clears release armed men allegedly linked to Miyetti Allah say they are legitimate vigilante. Kwara Police Command clears release armed men allegedly linked to Miyetti Allah says they are legitimate vigilante. Oh, Nigeria, Fulani will keep ruling us. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you.